think once the excitement dies down, though, there are some competitive issues that they're going to have to deal with to make this product successful. I mean, EV sales are declining a little bit, broadly speaking. So Tesla may have volume declines, they may have shrinking margins. At the same time, they're trying to launch a fairly large CapEx program like a new vehicle. The demand may not be there, especially heading into a possible recession. And the price point is kind of high, potentially for a lot of truck buyers. We don't necessarily know if that price point's going to work or not. So it's an exciting product. I can't wait to see what happens myself. But there are some challenges, not to mention broader competition from other autos and other EV players as well. So definitely some questions, but it's an exciting day.
Just a horrible take from this guy, in my opinion. He says EV adoption is slowing, but does this look like EV adoption is slowing? He said there may not be demand as we head into a potential recession. Is he aware that the Cybertruck has 2 million pre-orders? He said that the price might be kind of high at $61,000. Is he aware that the average price of a new pickup truck in America is $59,000? And Cybertruck gets the tax credit that will bring it all the way down to around $54,000. Did he consider that the price of the Cybertruck might come down over time as production catches up with demand? And I think he also said the C word, competition. I'm just going to roll this clip of the Cybertruck absolutely annihilating the competition, leaving it in the dust.
They are currently, as I understand it, throwing baseballs at it, shooting guns at it. Is that what's important to a truck owner? Making sure, you can't shoot a crossbow through the door?
Woohoo! Look, investing can be fun as well as, more intellectual, I guess, at times. Honestly, I don't think it really gets at the meat of the issue from an investment standpoint. And that's going to be mainly the company, how successful it can be with this product and fit it into their overall business, how successful the overall business is going to be. Macro conditions are changing. The market may be declining. The launch time may not be right. And there may be more competition in the truck space than there was in the car space. But on the positive, Tesla maybe needs a brand refresh a little bit. And this is part of that deal. And I would argue the launch really started last night with Elon's interview. But it's an exciting day, and we'll see what happens. We don't invest in it. We don't think the price point's a good enough valuation for us at the moment, but it's obviously a company that we continue to watch.
The host asked him a simple question. Do customers want to see that it's a tough truck, shooting guns, throwing baseballs at it? And he just goes, woohoo! And then just says the exact same thing that he already said. Oh, the market might be declining. Oh, the launch time might not be right. Oh, there's competition. He didn't even answer the question.
What do you think is kind of the sweet spot for a tech company in its category that has cyclical connections, right? They sell cars like Apple sells phones. They ultimately need to have a strong consumer, but the market seems to be a little bit more choosy in the last 6 months about which companies it buys into, needing more kind of quality attributes. Does Tesla not meet those quality attributes that an Apple or some other companies do in its peer group?
No, I think for Tesla owners, it's a high quality product, or has been. And as long as that continues, I don't think that's really the issue. I think the issue is more macro, running the business, trying to get volume, trying to get sales in a potentially changing economic scenario, and possibly with a little bit more competition in the truck space than in the car space. I mean, the truck space traditionally has been a higher margin area for autos in general. And when you introduce a truck, you're getting more into that space and potentially broader competition with trying to be successful in that space. So this is all speculative, so we don't really know the answers to this yet. And the truck space is not taken off to a degree that we can really, play a real good educated guess. But these are legitimate questions. But Tesla, having the success that it's had in the car space, certainly would be a legitimate player to succeed. So, and I'm not saying they won't. I just look at the stock in a broader global macro context, not only the truck business, but the car business, and potentially declining volume, declining economic circumstances, high price point, and a decline in the interest in EV vehicles generally lately. And I think it presents some legitimate questions that may be the wrong questions to ask in hindsight, but That's where we are right now. So valuation-wise, we're not there yet.
Guys, I'm sorry for forcing you to listen to this. I just thought it was funny how many times this guy's going to say the exact same thing. But don't worry, I'm cutting him off now. That's the last you're going to see of him. And look, we knew this was going to happen this week. Tesla is going after the ultra high margin truck market. And the sellers of those trucks are these media companies' biggest advertising clients. So these media companies are backing their clients by putting out negative FUD on the Cybertruck. Well, they clearly don't know what to say because they keep bringing up the same things. The market recession, the competition, the valuation, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if they can find something unique to say.
And some fresh Cybertruck footage for you there in the mix. Man, do I hate the font that they're using, that Cyrillic silliness. So bad.
Well, I guess that was all they could come up with. Let's move on to some different coverage. That was horrid. I am sorry.
Colin, you heard what Phil just talked about. Give me your reflections on the Cybertruck, but even more importantly, as we head into the new year, in terms of what you think the demand will really look like for Tesla's automobiles overall.
Yeah, I think Phil's take on this is generally in line with our view. So first, the company really needs to evolve the product portfolio. They've established a very strong foothold in the vehicle market, and to grow further here, we really think they need to evolve the product portfolio. So totally in agreement with that. I think there was some nice technology validation in this vehicle, from the torque and some of the powertrain elements, as well as the steering capacity with the by-wire being integrated. That's not necessarily new technology, but having it integrated really helps enable some of the autonomous applications down the line. And I think that the company's at a crossroads here. It's disrupted the industry, forced the industry to move towards a certain technology node, and now driving that incremental share towards something that we think investors are anticipating is something on the order of 15 to 20% market share. Really is going to involve an awful lot of hard work, and that's why we're on the sidelines here. That this is going to be harder for longer than I think a lot of folks expect, and we're expecting margins and growth to be a little bit muted here over the next couple of years.
Guys, I know this stuff can sound convincing and get you down on the stock because this is a Wall Street analyst who studies stocks full time, and he says some really big words, but if you replay what he just said, you realize he didn't give a single fact or reason for why he was making the claims he was making. Literally, the only reason he gave for why he thinks Tesla's going to have a rough couple of years was that it's going to involve a lot of hard work. What, you think Tesla is not accustomed to some hard work? Sometimes I think that just because Tesla knows how to throw a kick-ass party, that people don't think they work hard. No, they work hard. And they play hard. They single-handedly transition the world to EVs. They deserve to celebrate once in a while. And these are not just some rowdy Uber-type parties. These are parties full of nerds who had a few too many beers and start talking about battery technology. That's the kind of parties these are. Tesla is still moving at light speed. There was a couple attendees who were at the Cyber Rodeo last year. This year, they went to the Cybertruck delivery event, and they were amazed at how much had changed. Machinery over here, complete lines have come up. Like, Tesla still moves so fast. And yes, the numbers were down in Q3 due to the revamp of the Model 3. But Q4 is going to remind analysts that Tesla is the hardest working, fastest moving company in the world.
What seems to be slowing demand or growth, certainly, for EVs. The other day, Andrew Sorkin, of course, talked to Elon. I'm not sure it was necessarily asked and answered, but it didn't really get answered, certainly. This question is whether there is a significant slowdown. Do you believe there is, in terms of just what's left of the population wanting EVs?
So I think there's a misconception here. Growth in both China and Europe has actually been quite strong for EVs, and there's a strong North American bias for a lot of investors in a lot of the reporting here. And I think the U.S. market certainly has a product market fit issue that the OEMs are working through. And so the slower growth in EVs in the U.S. is not a huge surprise given where the appetite and the interest and real needs for consumers are in this country. So EVs, we're not backing away from our bullish growth perspective. We just think it's coming from different geographies. Now, the redesign and kind of evolution of product portfolio is going to take some time. We're kind of on Gen 2 plus in terms of the vehicles that are on the road. And I really think Gen 3, when you go through a disruptive cycle, is really where products get right with the markets and really start driving volume. And I think we're in process on those Gen 3 vehicles here.
Understood. But again, back to overall worldwide demand, you point out Europe, that's a lot of the Chinese EVs, if I'm not mistaken. And then in China, Musk himself has said it is an incredibly competitive market, is it not?
I think both those points are well taken here, and that's part of our concerns around margin. Like Tesla continues to be a real technology leader and driving cost out of these vehicles from a design and a manufacturing perspective. But this is going to be a very competitive market, and it's going to be a challenging ROI market. And so we have some real concerns around some of the legacy OEMs. And Tesla, we think, is a long-term winner here, but the path to long-term winning in this market is going to be painful, and we're seeing that in the financial results.
Okay, so he's starting to make a little more sense here. He's saying most of the EV adoption happens in China, which is an ultra competitive place with all the Chinese EV makers coming out of there. So it's going to be a long, painful road for Tesla, right? But Elon always chooses pain. I mean, he doesn't take a vacation. But you all know that about Elon, and you know that Shanghai is Tesla's most productive factory. And I just learned in a Twitter Spaces the other day that Tesla just had their 100 top engineers from Shanghai fly over to Austin and give Tesla some help on their Cybertruck ramp, as well as their Model Y ramp in Austin. So Tesla really has some great talent in China, and they are now launching FSD in China as well, which is going to give them another great competitive advantage as they try to attain more market share in China. And he also talked about the Gen 3, Tesla's $25,000 car. This is really what's next in sight for us. It's really what we're focused on as Tesla tries to continue to drive EV adoption. I personally see absolutely no threat of Tesla not reaching a 20% market share globally. I mean, last year, 67 million cars were sold. So to reach a 20% global market share, Tesla only has to sell about 13.4 million cars a year, while Tesla's internal goal is 20 million cars. I happen to wonder if most of the pain Tesla will endure is behind us. They have such a strong ecosystem now between supercharging, energy storage, and full self-driving that it's really a no-brainer now for anyone when they're picking an EV to buy. The only way Tesla does not reach a 20% market share, in my opinion, is if they decide to transition to become more of a software company. They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with the hardware anymore. Let's just license all of our software and everything we've learned and just get a really high margin business going. But I really don't think Tesla's going to do that. They're so much better at manufacturing than everybody else, and they've basically automated the entire process. So I don't think they would do that because they know everyone else would move too slow right now. And while Tesla's market share might end up showing 20% on paper, it could actually wound up being a lot bigger, considering that a lot of the vehicles on the road are going to be charging at Tesla superchargers, paying money. And a lot of the vehicles on the road potentially will license FSD software from Tesla. So Tesla's not only going to have that 20% hardware market share, but also a greater market share in terms of all the money made from the automotive industry. So lots to look forward to, guys, and keep your head up this week as we get a lot of FUD about the Cybertruck from these media companies. Thanks for watching.